Welcome to New York Post Studios in Midtown Manhattan. I'm Mark Hale. Today we're going to do our Giants triple play. 3 questions on Big Blue in anticipation of Sunday's game against the Bucs at MetLife Stadium. I want to bring in our lead sports columnist, Mike Vaccaro. And Vac, we're only in week 2, so obviously it is early in the season, but how important is this game for the Giants? And more specifically, is it crazy to call it a must-win?
I don't want to call it a must-win, Mark, but I'll tell you what, it certainly makes the path a lot easier if they win the game. For one thing, I think it's certainly a game that they should win because I just think they're a better team. I know the Buccaneers looked awfully good in week 1. They've got a lot of energy under their new coach, Greg Schiano. But that said, I think the Giants, especially playing at home, you just have to like their chances of winning this game, especially because I think they realize that there's a bunch of games in the first 5 or 6 that the Giants clearly think that they should win and probably have to win. Because much like last year when there was a certain stretch of the schedule where you started wondering where the win's going to come from, soon enough they're going to be playing the Packers and the Saints, on and on. And those are going to be games that I think they could certainly win as easily as they could lose them, but they're not the kind of games that you automatically mark down with a W. And I think this was a game that you looked at certainly before the season started as a game that they were going to win. And plus, they would have lost the game at home, and you never want to get to a second loss at home before, in week 2. So from all those standpoints, it's an important win. I mean, I suppose it's hard to tell us to call any Giants season a must-win in week 2 only because we've seen them win a Super Bowl starting off 0-2 in the recent past. So now it's not for alone. I guess you might want to avoid using terms like must-win, but certainly a game they would very much like to get in the column.
All right, question number 2, or topic number 2. You touched on the new coach for Tampa Bay. That's Greg Schiano. New York is familiar with him from his time with Rutgers. Vac, how much more intriguing does this game become with Schiano now coming back up here to coach in this game?
Well, I suppose that if New York could fall in love with Rutgers the way that Greg Schiano had expected that they would, it would be something special. I don't know that he necessarily had the crossover appeal. He certainly got something exciting going among the alumni and the students and the people of Central Jersey, who started to really fall in love with Rutgers over the past couple of years, and with good reason. I think what makes it intriguing is I think that he's clearly not only just a good coach. I think we saw that with Rutgers, that he was a guy who obviously knew how to run a program, was a detail-oriented a guy who could really run an operation. But I think you saw how they bought in week 1, and this is a team that was borderline unprofessional in the second half of last year, took advantage of the former coach, really kind of lost its way. And I think what's impressive is what Schiano has been able to do in a very short period of time, which is to get these players, some old, some new, to buy into his plan, which is, pretty rigid. I mean, he's a college guy who's brought a lot of college ways with him, very detail-oriented, very disciplined, and they've bought in so far. I think that's what's most impressive, and that is probably what makes it more intriguing, because I think that makes the Buccaneers a lot more of a difficult opponent than they might have otherwise thought of or might have otherwise been under their past regime.
Vac, third topic here. You and I were both at this Giants season opener against the Cowboys last Wednesday night. The Giants lost that game. Give me the aspect of this Giants team or a player on this Giants team that you need to see improvement from this Sunday, or you're going to start to get a little worried about it.
I know it sounds funny because he got such a breakout year last year and it's the star, but I'm really curious to see if what happened to Victor Cruz in week 1 of this season was just, a one-game aberration. And we tend to forget that last year, he was throwing a bad game here and there among, the 16 regular season and 4 playoff games that he played, mostly with distinction. And you'd kind of like to see him back game 1 up where he had 3 drops, 2 penalties, and generally played very ineffectively. With a classic Victor Cruz game, based on one season, but clearly he was such an important part of what they did last year. He is such an important part of establishing what Eli Manning wants to do with the offense. I think it will be really a source of great comfort for the Giants to see the circa 2011 Victor Cruz playing on Sunday against the Bucs, as opposed to what we saw in the first game against the Cowboys. Like I said, was that a bad game, or was that the start of some kind of sophomore slump? I think that's really kind of a thing that's going to be very curious to look at because, just because of what an important part of the offense he really is.
All right, Giants and Bucs this Sunday at MetLife Stadium. Giants will be trying to even their record at 1-1 after their season-opening loss to Dallas. You can follow Vac on Twitter at MikeVac, V-A-C-C. You can follow me on Twitter at HaleMark, M-A-R-K. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.